Hello and welcome to the Brunel Business School Postgraduate webinar today. My name is Katie Moore and I work in the Admissions and Marketing Office for the Business School and will be your host this morning. In today's webinar we have two guest speakers here to talk to you. We have Matthew Grish, Brunel's Immigration Officer from the Admissions team, and also Rebecca Weymouth, Brunel's Job Shop Manager. Matthew will be talking to you about applying for a student visa and understanding the Tier 4 rules, whilst Rebecca will be talking about employment assistance during and after your studies. If you have any questions, please do type them in and we will answer them either as we go along or at the end. Now over to Matthew. Matthew, could you explain to our participants what type of visa they should apply for and also the sort of help that you're able to offer our prospective students?
Thanks, Katie. First of all, a vast majority of international students will require a Tier 4 general student visa. That is the one that they must apply for in order to be able to come to the UK and to study at Brunel University.
Okay, thank you. So when would students be able to get their confirmation of acceptance for study form?
Yes, a confirmation of acceptance for study, or a CAS as it's more frequently known, is required before you can apply for a Tier 4 student visa. And this can only be issued when you have an unconditional offer to study at Brunel University. So when you apply, in the first instance, we probably made a conditional offer. The conditions may be obviously based on academic, passing qualifications, but you also have to supply some documentation to us, such as supplying a copy of your passport, and you need to pay a course deposit. Once you've done all of that and you have an unconditional offer, we'll issue your CAS and then you can apply for your Tier 4 student visa.
Okay, how much does a visa application cost?
At the moment, the standard postal application, or the online print and send application, is £406. You can apply for a premium appointment if you're in the UK at the moment, where you go to the visa application centre in person, and that takes a significantly quicker to process the application, but that costs about £730 at the moment. But please always check the Home Office website, as the prices are subject to change fairly frequently.
Okay, Matthew. How long will it take for a visa application to be processed? Is it different from different countries?
Absolutely. Visa processing times can vary quite dramatically sometimes, depending on which country you're in. I would say, on average, in most countries, you're probably looking at least 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. But there are some countries where it may take a couple of months. So the advice we would always give is that you need to apply for your visa as soon as you possibly can.
Okay. So when does a student actually apply for their visa? What needs to be done before they can actually do that?
First of all, rule number one is that you can only apply for your student visa 3 months before the start of your course once you have a CAS. A CAS is valid for 6 months, so you potentially could be issued it 6 months before the start of your course. But you cannot use it to apply until 3 months before the start of your course. The documentation that you'll need to have, you'll need to send your qualification with your visa application, the qualification that Brunel University has accepted you with, and you'll also need to supply financial documentation with your visa application to show that you'll meet the Home Office maintenance requirements, in that you'll need to show that you have enough money to pay both your tuition fees and for your living costs.
Okay, so how much money do I need to show that I have as proof of the maintenance requirements?
First of all, you must show that you have enough money to pay the tuition fees for the first academic year of the course. Obviously, different courses cost a different amount of money, but so that will be stated on your CAS how much your course costs. The amount of money that you need to show for your living costs will typically, for all degree courses that last a year or more, £7,200. That is calculated as being £800 per month for 9 months, for the first 9 months of the course.
Okay, Matthew, in your experience with your role, are there any problems that spring to mind that students might have encountered, or may encounter in the process of when they're having their application processed?
The thing I say is that you cannot enrol at Brunel University until you have the Tier 4 student visa that you require. I think part of the problem is sometimes students don't realise how long their visa application may take to process, particularly at busy times of the year, July and August, i.e. now. As I earlier mentioned, please make sure you apply for your student visa as soon as you are in a position to do so and you've been issued with your CAS. The other problem is that sometimes arises is that in order to meet the maintenance requirements, you need to show in your bank statement that the required amount of money has been in there for 28 consecutive days. And so if it's not in there at the point that we issue your CAS, you may have to wait 28 days once you put the required money in the account before you can apply for your visa, which again causes delays. So the recommendation I'd always give is as soon as you apply to Brunel University, maybe have a look on the Home Office website, look at what the requirements will be for when it comes to applying for your visa, and make sure that you're ready to apply as soon as you possibly can once your CAS is issued.
Okay, thanks Matthew. Would a student be able to submit their application now and still get their visa in time?
For the September starting course, in most countries we are still able to issue CAS, and we would be confident that the students should be able to get their visa in time to register in mid-September. There is a registration period, so it's not just one day of registration. You can register between the 16th of September and the 4th of October. So if you're issued with a CAS in the very near future, just please make sure you apply as soon as you can. Obviously January starting courses, which I know the business school are going to be offering, likewise if you haven't applied yet, make sure you apply as soon as you possibly can. Your CAS will then be issued shortly, sort of 3 months before the start of the course, once you have an unconditional offer. And again, make sure you apply as soon as you possibly can, and you should have that visa in time to start the course.
So for the students that are considering starting in January, when should they actually apply for their visa, or what would be the deadline for getting their visa application done by? Obviously they have to meet their conditions.
Yeah, if you haven't applied yet, I'd recommend you apply now for the January starting courses. We'll be issuing CAS to all applicants who have an unconditional offer 3 months before the start of the course. So would that be October time? And if you have any conditions to meet, so if you have already applied, you still have outstanding conditions, make sure that you meet them by the end of September if you can.
Okay, thanks Matthew. Are students interviewed as part of the application process for the visa?
Potentially, yes. It depends on which country you're applying for your visa in. If you're a national of a low-risk country, now these are listed on the Home Office website, but an example would be the United States of America, Canada, I believe, Australia. In certain countries you would not be interviewed. However, in most other countries, the likelihood is that you may be required to have a short interview with the entry clearance officer as part of your visa application, and you should be prepared for this. I'd say that there's more information on the Brunel website, on our immigration pages about this, and also on the Home Office website if required.
Okay Matthew, could you just explain a bit more about the Tier 4 rules, please?
As I've said, the primary Tier 4 rules with regards to applying is that you can only apply 3 months before the start of your course. There's rules on documentation that you must submit with your visa application, so you need to supply your original qualification and your evidence of your maintenance funds. I mentioned in the previous question information about low-risk nationals. Please check that on the Home Office website when you apply. Low-risk nationals actually don't need to supply the same documentation that a non-low-risk national would. There will be conditions to your visa if it is granted to you. You may need to register with the police when you arrive in the UK, and that will need to be done within 7 days. But again, most of this information will be made clear to you as part of the application process and when you're if you're granted your visa.
Okay. What does your team in the Immigration Office within admissions actually do for prospective students? What sort of help is available?
Yep, we are happy to give any advice on relating to a visa application or any immigration advice. We have an email address that you can send any questions to. It's simply admissions.immigration@brunel.ac.uk. So if you do have any questions after today's webinar or during the application process, please feel free to contact us on that email address.
So you help individual students, applicants, with their queries that are specific to their case?
Absolutely, yeah. We're happy to answer any queries a student may have. I'm afraid we don't have the facility to physically help a prospective student with their visa application in terms of actually filling it in and submitting it. But any questions that you may have, please feel free to send us by email.
Okay. A question we get quite a lot in the business school is whether students can come over to the UK with their family when they're studying. Is this something they can do?
Potentially. Again, you need to check the Home Office guidance when completing the application form. Typically, you cannot bring your family with you if you are a student of an undergraduate course, but if you are on a postgraduate master's degree course, for example, and your course is more than 6 months long, which will apply to all of the courses that we offer here at Brunel, you may be able to bring your family with you. They'll need to fill in their own Tier 4 dependent visa application form, and again, information about that is on the Home Office website. They will need to make sure that the application is correctly submitted, and they also need to show that they meet their own maintenance requirements. But all that information is on the Home Office website when you come to making that application.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. Listeners, please do post your questions in. We're about to go on to the employment side of the webinar. So if anyone's got any questions, we will answer them. In fact, actually, it looks like somebody else has just asked a question here. They want to know what kind of documents they'll be asked to show when they pass the UK border so that they can be prepared. Do you know what type of documents they'll need to bring with them?
Of course, your visa and your passport, most importantly. We'd always recommend, really just to be on the safe side. I mean, if you're granted your Tier 4 student visa and then you arrive at the airport with that, along with your passport, no more information should really be required of you. To be on the safe side, we'd always recommend that you keep original documentation that the university has sent you regarding your place at Brunel University. For example, your offer letter. Keep contact details of the university with you. Again, that should be on the documentation anyway, just in case you are questioned and they ask you, for what purpose you have arrived in the UK. And a worst case scenario, they can call the university and we'll confirm that you're a student due to study with us. That's all I'd recommend.
Okay, another question for you, Matthew. One of the students wants to know whether they need to apply for a visa if they're from an EU country.
No, if you're an EU national, you will not require a Tier 4 student visa because you have freedom to travel to the UK and therefore freedom to study with that.
Okay, thanks, Matthew. Right, over to Rebecca now. Thanks for coming along, Rebecca. Could you first of all start to explain what you and your team can do to help prospective students or when they're actually enrolled with regards to working in the UK?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Casey. Okay, I'll start by sort of just explaining a little bit about the wider team because that will give a bit more sort of perspective. I manage an area called the Job Shop, which assists students to source part-time work opportunities whilst you're studying in the UK. But I actually work as part of a wider team called the Placement and Careers Centre. And I work with a team of 7 careers consultants that can also provide students with assistance. So whilst you're studying in the UK, what we can do is assist you with finding some part-time work opportunities. We have vacancy listings of jobs in the local area and on campus on our website, and I'll give you our website details in a moment. But you can actually apply for those jobs. We have around 350 to 400 students working on campus actively every month. So there are jobs available on campus which are paid opportunities. And as I said, we also list jobs in the local area. My colleagues and the team of careers consultants, one of which is specifically designated to international students, they can actually assist you with applying for those jobs, so preparing a CV, preparing an application form, getting ready for an interview, explaining to you what the process of applying for a job is in the UK. They can arrange a mock interview for you and prep you completely for an interview so that you feel as confident as possible in getting that actual job role. So as well as assisting you whilst you're studying, it isn't just about helping you find a job. It might be talking to you about what you want to do after your studies, so what your career options might be. One of the most typical questions that our careers consultants get is, I'm doing this degree, but I don't know what I want to do next. And that's fine. We can talk to you about that. We can provide you with all of the information that you need, ask you questions to make you think about the sorts of things that you want to do. So whilst our careers consultants can help you with that sort of careers counselling through to finding a job, and afterwards as well, we can assist you for up to 2 years after you've graduated, so you can still get assistance from Brunel. One thing I will say is that we can see students in a face-to-face format, or if you're not available to come in to see us, we can give telephone interviews, advice by email, and also via Skype. So we have a far reach, so if you can't get in to see us, we can still communicate with you and get you the advice that you need.
Great, that's good. So an international student can actually work whilst they're studying, is it? Whether it's on campus or they could work locally, is that correct?
Absolutely. So as Matthew was talking about earlier, you would make an application for a Tier 4 visa. Typically that visa would allow you to work in the UK for 20 hours per week whilst you're studying. Usually it will also allow you to work for more than 20 hours a week outside of term time, so during university vacations. What I would highly recommend to you is that when you get to Brunel, if you are unsure about the number of hours that you can work, just come in and see us. We're very central on campus. We're in the Bannerman Centre, so once you get here, you'll get to learn all of those different buildings and where everybody is. But come in and have a chat with us, and we can have a look at your visa and tell you expressly how many hours you can work. What I will say is if we have got any Bulgarian or Romanian students listening, you will need to apply for a worker registration card before you can start working in the UK. And it can be quite a long-winded process to apply for that, so I would suggest that as soon as you arrive, you do come up and see us, and that applies to Bulgarian and Romanian students.
Okay. What sort of jobs do our international students do whilst they're studying then?
Okay, it varies massively. I mean, I can talk specifically about the jobs that we have on campus. So we range from jobs where a student might be manning a reception desk, they might be mentoring other students, they might be assisting the university with marketing, so perhaps be a student ambassador showing prospective students around the campus. We also have some students doing more technical jobs, so designing websites for the university or for outside organisations. And typically a lot of our postgraduate students are research assistants for academics in their school. So it ranges really from sort of customer service roles to technical roles to more research-based roles that might be specifically related to a student's topic as well.
Okay, we've had a question from one of our listeners, Rebecca. They want to know what is the typical salary an international student can earn per hour in the UK to help them support their living expenses.
Okay, well in the UK we have something called national minimum wage, and what that means is that everybody gets a minimum rate of pay regardless of what job they're doing. So at the moment that rate of pay is £6.19 per hour, and it's rising to £6.31 per hour on the 1st of October. What I will say is that jobs on campus range from £6.31 right up to £14 per hour, depending on the role that you're doing. But the types of jobs that we advertise that are perhaps more local, that aren't on campus, typically they're around about the £7 to £8 per hour mark, sometimes more, especially if it involves some technical ability like building a website or programming. They tend to be at around about the £10 to £12 an hour.
Okay, thanks Rebecca. Do you give advice for students who want to work internationally for when they graduate?
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that our careers consultants can help you with. And as I said, we have a careers consultant who is part of her remit is specifically working with international students. So our careers consultants can provide you with lots of different information about the types of jobs that might be available in different countries and how you can go about applying for those. And our careers consultant that works specifically with the international students can also give you some up-to-date visa information. Whilst we can't give you specific visa advice, we can give you information about the types of visas that you can apply to. Information about working internationally is also available on our website, and I'll give you our website information now, because everything that I've talked about, including our vacancies and the sort of advice you can get from our website. So that's www.brunel.ac.uk/PCC. You'll find all of the information that we've talked about there, including things like templates of CVs, how to fill in an application form when you're applying to jobs in the UK, and information about what you think your chosen career might be now, or if you want to do research about other careers, you'll find all of that information there.
Okay, one more question here for you, Rebecca, from one of our listeners. They're asking what about assistance after their studies? Can they still help students, or can you still help students when they finish their course?
Yes, absolutely. You can still get advice, careers advice, from our careers consultants for up to 2 years after you've graduated. So whether you be in the UK or whether you're returning to your home country, we'll still be able to give you that advice. As I said earlier, if you're in the UK, we can do that on a face-to-face basis if you wish, or if you're overseas, we can do that via Skype. We also run webinars similar to this where you might get the information that you need, or of course we can do it by telephone or by email. So absolutely, we can still advise you for up to 2 years after you graduate.
Okay. Right, one of our listeners has got a question for both Rebecca and Matthew, so we'll start off with Rebecca first of all. They're saying, although it's still early to ask, however, what is the potential job market for HR professionals in the UK, EU, and does the Brunel University Job Shop team help in conducting job fairs, industry contacts?
Okay, well, all of our careers consultants carry specific specialisms, and actually our international careers consultant, who is Callie Amiras, she's also the careers consultant for business, and HR would fall under her remit. Callie would be the best person to answer your question in terms of the industry currently and the sorts of jobs that would be available. I know in terms of part-time work that we do have those types of jobs available. Whilst they might not be specifically HR related at the time whilst you're studying, we do have jobs that would allow you to build up some of that skills base that would be required for that type of job. And coming in to see a careers consultant such as Callie would help you to look at the types of skills that you're going to need in that chosen career, and we would help you to build up those skills within part-time work whilst you're studying.
Okay, thanks. I hope that answers your question. The question that they have for Matthew is, in case they get a full-time job offer in the UK after the completion of their MSc programme, will the Brunel University Immigration Team help them apply for a work permit from the UK only in case they're unable to travel back, or are there any other visa assistance in case of research roles with the university itself?
At Brunel, we do have an immigration service to provide assistance to current students. Like with my role in the admissions office, we can typically provide advice and support. We don't unfortunately have the resources, I don't believe, to physically help with the application, but they are available to ask any questions too.
If I can just come in there also, one thing I will say is that we do run with Brunel's International Office some workshops where we have a solicitor come in to the university to run a workshop about applying for a visa after study. So whilst you wouldn't necessarily be able to get information specifically about your visa and your circumstances, you'd be able to pick up information from an immigration specialist about the types of visa you could apply for, the types of documents you'd need to provide, etc. So there is some provision for a workshop and also referral to a solicitor should you need specific advice about your visa.
Okay, thanks Rebecca. There's another question here for you. I might just add that we're coming near to the end of the webinar now, so we've got a couple of questions left and then we'll have to end the webinar. So this question here for you, Rebecca. A student wants to know, they've heard about a graduate entrepreneur programme. Are you able to give any information on that?
That isn't something that I know very much about, but I would be very happy to go back and find out some information, and if we can get this listener's contact details, I'd be more than happy to find out some information for you specifically.
Okay, great. Thanks, Rebecca. Yes, if anyone has any questions that we don't have time to answer with, then you'd be able to email masterbbs@brunel.ac.uk, or we can retrieve your questions from this webinar. Okay, I think we've just got one question left. Somebody's asking if we could repeat the website address for the PCC.
Yeah, sure. It's www.brunel.ac.uk/PCC. So PCC stands for Placement and Careers Centre. Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks. Thank you, Matthew, and thank you, Rebecca, for joining us today. Our website details are on the slide at the moment, so you can follow us on our Brunel Business School Facebook page, or there's Twitter and LinkedIn. So please do join us on our social media sites to get an idea of what we're like as a business school, and you can contact us via those sites. And if you want to email us or telephone, my team's details are here, masterbbs@brunel.ac.uk, and you can telephone +440 1895 265 910. And the business school website is www.brunel.ac.uk/BBS. Okay, so we've come to the end of today's postgraduate webinar, and we hope you found the guest speakers' talk useful and informative, and that you've enjoyed the session. So once again, thank you for listening, and thank you to our guest speakers. Hope you have a lovely summer, and we'll hope to see you in September.